It's important to highlight a few extra informational things about parameters and arguments for your understanding. So, parameters are the variables listed inside the parentheses in the function definition, where we define the function. So we see here, we got def, my function, parameters. So that's in the definition. Arguments are the actual values passed into the function when it's called. So if we're calling the function, so there's no def keyword here, we just have the function name and then our parentheses. And then we're inputting two arguments, blue and red. The arguments are what is actually input into the function. And this is not huge. If you want to speak the lingo of Python, you should learn this. Just remember, parameters are in the definition. Arguments are the actual values that are passed in when the function is called. So parameters versus arguments. There's a few different kinds of arguments. There's positional arguments and keyword arguments. And we can also use default arguments. So let's go through these one at a time. Positional arguments need to be passed in the order defined in the function. So if we have up here, we define my function and then param1, param2. The first argument passed into the function when we call it will be param1. In terms of what, within the function, the value of param1 will be the first argument passed in. The next argument, and we could have many arguments, the next argument here will be param2, that second parameter, and so on. So that's just called positional arguments, and that's often how functions will work. We'll just say, okay, the first value will be this always, the second value will always be this. Keyword arguments is where we can just pass these arguments in any order by specifying the name of the argument. So we're calling my function and we're saying explicitly param2, you will be red. The value of the string red. And param1 this argument will take on the value blue. Even though in our definition we have param1 first and param2 second, because we are using keyword arguments, we're explicitly saying when we call the function, param2 will be this, param1 will be this. It's not positional. It doesn't matter because we're being more explicit than that. And I'll show you some examples here in a minute. And we also have what are called default arguments that we can set when we define the function, which is where we can say param1, that will be a positional parameter, and param2, if it's not set with an argument, if it's not set, it will automatically be value blue. So when we're defining the function, we can say explicitly what we want it to be if it's not set. And default arguments need to follow non-default arguments. Otherwise, Python won't like that. Let's take a look at this. So we have our calculate change. We have positional arguments here. And I'm going to delete our help statement. Our parameters, I should say, here in the function definition, and then our positional arguments, 5 and 10. So 5 will take on the first value, 10 will take on the second value. Now what we could do is we could say money equals 5 and cost equals 10. That works too. These are our keyword arguments. And if we run that, it will give us, well, I'm not printing it, but return money equals cost. Let's print change again. So that's -5. Because we said we're paying with 5, but the cost of the item is 10, so we can't do that. But I wanted to demonstrate that the order doesn't matter if we're using these keywords. If we're saying this parameter takes on this argument value, and and this parameter takes on this argument value. We can do that. Then the order won't matter. Otherwise, they need to be positional, and 5 will go here into the first position, 10 will go here into the second position. What we can do is we can say if money is not supplied, let's just make it 100, meaning the customer gives us $100. Here in the United States, we use dollars. So if we run this, it will be our 5 because we're paying with $10. The item costs $5. Return the difference. However, what I can do, I can delete this second argument and run it, and it will use this default argument that we've defined in the function definition. So it will be $100 is what the customer's paying with, and the item costs 5. So we see now the result is 95. So that's a default argument. If we tried to make the first parameter be give it a default argument, we're getting an error because non-default parameter follows default parameter. That won't work because how would Python know? Because we have to supply an argument in this case. How would Python know? How could it make the first argument be the default? Well, that would never be the case because we have multiple parameters here. And if we input any argument, it's going to be the first automatically. So we'd have to say, well, and if money's not supplied, give that a value too. That way, it just works, and we're not going to have some arbitrary arguments here. So we could actually just call this function without any arguments now, and money will be 1,000, and cost will be 100, so it will return the difference of 900. So there you have it. I think that explains that bit a little bit about arguments, parameters, and a few of the nuances there.